Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 My Driver Career Mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. Today we head to the Dutch GP here at Zandvoort. Very excited for this one here to get this GP under our belt. In our rookie season with Haas F1, we managed to get an 11th place finish in this GP. So it treated us well the first time around. Hopefully it will again this time around. Now there is some similarities to the Silverstone circuit in this game with the AI. So in Sector 2, they are able to haul the mail where we are not. So we are going to be giving up time in practice as well as qualifying and even in the race as well. But obviously we'll stand a better chance in the race against AI than we will in any other session. So it's going to be a long weekend, a hard fought one to say the least here as we jump through into our practice sessions here, as it was looking like it was going to be a very dry weekend at least. You notice immediately here in practice a new halo here on our Aston Martin car there now, as a recent patch actually got us the updated halo from the real car IRL, so it looks really good here now as we come through there to cross the line. We were okay here at the beginning of the session, but you can see that Sebastian, our teammate there, got us by 1.3 seconds in practice on the same compounded tire, and that was even with me running a qualifying program lap, and I could not beat the qualifying program or even the race strategy program. That's just how much Sector 2 was making a difference for us here at this circuit now as we come through straight into qualifying here though for the Dutch GP now, as I knew it was going to be a tough weekend here. You see me actually trying to take that line through the banked hairpin like the real life drivers did there, a bit of a different line they take in the game compared to real life, but I knew it was going to be tough to make it into Q2, and I knew we were not going to have a chance to make it to Q3 just with the AI being so fast in Sector 2. So after my first run, we were down in 18th place, Canadians 16th, 17th, and 18th there with Latifi, Stroll, and myself. But we come through into the end of the session, making one last dash here to try and get into the second qualifying effort there in the top 15, and we go up by 0.3 of a second, and it makes the difference to get us into Q2. So we do advance by 1,000th of a second. Unbelievably close, as we just barely squeeze in to the second qualifying session there. We just about got beat out by our former teammate there of Mick Schumacher in our former car with Hans. But we come through into Q2, and simply because I used two sets of softs there in Q2, or in Q1, I waited to go out to the end of the session here in Q2, and I knew I wasn't going to have the pace to get into the top 10 anyway, so I was just content doing one lap. So we come through to cross the line. We actually beat Lance Stroll there, go P14, so that was nice to see, and that's exactly where we would end up qualifying. Sebastian down there in P12, myself in P14, Stroll, Ocon, as well as Tsunoda all eliminated here. I thought about taking a grid penalty, but I decided to hold off on that as we get ready to go green.
For years, the passionate Dutch fans have been easy to find trackside at races across Europe and throughout the world. Now, at long last, they have a Grand Prix to call their own. It's a warm welcome once again to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. 4 lefts and 10 rights make up the 14 corners of the narrow and demanding Zandvoort circuit, with plenty of peaks and valleys over the course of a 2.6-mile lap, which will demand absolute concentration from our drivers here today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, and Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Russell, and Yuki Tsunoda, Vettel, Ocon, the rookie, and Stroll, Norris. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Latifi, and Callum Ilott. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
You saw right there Lando Norris taking a grid penalty once again as we get this formation lap underway. I can confirm in the next episode for the Italian GP in Monza, we are going to have to take a grid penalty for the first time this season ourselves. It took quite a while for it to happen, but it is going to happen. We do have to change out some parts that will result in a grid penalty, and I decided to push them to the limit here in this race because I didn't want to take a grid penalty in Zandvoort because it's going to be very hard to pass compared to Monza, where in this game it's not terribly hard to pass at Monza with the kind of DRS train here, though, as it's going to be 5 red lights here in Zandvoort as we are ready to go racing, and now it's lights out and we are underway here with Lewis Hamilton on pole there as he's got his teammate Bottas just behind him there. Lewis Hamilton off to a strong start. You see the Red Bulls there under attack from the McLaren there of Daniel Ricciardo now as Verstappen gets away well in P3, but Perez under attack still from Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian there, as they go into this banked hairpin. I myself got a clean start, can confirm, towards the back there. So we were okay there as it continues side by side through these bendy curves right here, heading into one of the most unique portions of the whole schedule here in Formula One right now. As you come through here so fast, and then you got this really sharp right-hander that you were just hauling the mail through. But fortunately, everybody gets through here clean. No wing damage from the looks of it for anybody. And Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time champion, trying to continue to put the fight up to get his 8th world title this season, is out in front. Hamilton made a statement, won in the last episode in the Belgium GP, and now here he is once again up front now as Mercedes is back in front of Red Bull there, as you see myself get overtaken by Lando Norris there, as he obviously has way more speed than we do, and he took that grid penalty, and I wasn't planning on fighting one of the fastest cars on the grid too much now, as you see the rest of the grid there. But Hamilton, Bottas out in front, then you got the Red Bull duo of Verstappen, Perez, Ricciardo, then we got the Ferraris in the mix as well here, as we are now P15 on the exit of that final banked curve here now, as Lando Norris already making a move there on Lance Stroll. I did lose a spot to Stroll. He's on the soft tire. I'm on the hard tire, so it's a very mixed strategy here in this portion of the field. We got some guys on hard tires, some drivers on the soft tire. Myself and Sebastian was actually both on the hard tire strategy, so we're both playing the same strategy, hoping that it is going to work. And right now Sebastian is well ahead of me here on lap 4 through the hairpin. Now is actually, we have a caution behind us there. The yellow flag has come out, and it's actually going to be for the Williams of, I believe, Latifi, as a safety car comes out, and just as we come into the frame, you see Callum Ilott avoiding an incident there. So safety car is out. We're going to get a better look of what just happened now, as we're going to see the Williams of Antonio Giovinazzi actually loses the grip, hits the barrier. His teammate of Latifi comes plowing in there, loses the front tire. So Giovinazzi's still in, but Latifi's out. Ilott plowed in as well. Our teammate of Sebastian Vettel, the same lap as the safety car was out, comes in and actually puts on the soft tire, but more importantly, replaces his front wing. But there were other drivers that came into the pit lane as well. Perez came in, Daniel Ricciardo came in, Carlos Sainz as well. So they are trying the strategy game here now. Is it going to work for them? That's the question. Going to be tough to see. Or, well, we will find out, obviously, but it's going to be tough for them to pull it off here now as we come through to the end of lap 6, when the safety car had eventually come in, and we were now up into P11 here, trying to be a little bit defensive over Schumacher behind myself. Stroll lunges up the inside there of Tsunoda there in turn 1 now, as they're going to be side by side. Tsunoda on the hard tire like myself, Stroll on that soft tire. There's still a good life in those soft tires, so Stroll can definitely put up a strong fight right there to Tsunoda now, as here comes Perez out of nowhere in the Red Bull now to my left hand side. Obviously no use in fighting him, as you're just going to slow yourself down in a fight that you will never win in the current car that we are driving with the current R&D progress that it is at. Perez was on a tear as well now within the next lap up the inside of Lance Stroll down into turn 1. He goes up into the top 10 now, as we would get an opportunity to pass Lance Stroll ourselves. Couldn't quite capitalize on it, wasn't quite close enough, but DRS was once again activated, so it was just a matter of time until we would have an opportunity to pass the Haas driver that we replaced at Aston Martin this season. But there's the run on Stroll that we needed. Got very close there, so much more speed than him. We go a little bit deep into turn 1, but thankfully we're able to keep the car slowed down enough to remain in front of Lance Stroll there, as I get my first warning there for exceeding track limits on lap 10. I am running on strict corner cutting now ever since the last episode in Belgium, and surprisingly, I'm actually enjoying it. So now, now on lap 10, actually, a caution comes out again. This time it's for Lando Norris in 10th place. An engine failure there for the McLaren driver, and he is going to be out of the Dutch GP here in the Netherlands at Zandvoort. Very unfortunate there for him, and that allows us to move up to a spot. We're up into P10, right in front of Daniel Ricciardo on the medium compound tire, and it was just a matter of time until that happened right there. He would be able to make a move up my right-hand side, nearly making contact there as he actually locked up into the corner. Thankfully, that did not turn into any contact there. Now, it's at the end of lap 12. Here comes the leader of Lewis Hamilton into the pit lane, and he is going to be putting on the hard compound tire. Not a surprise at all right there. And he's going to lead in some other drivers. Charles Leclerc is coming in to put on the hard tire as well here now, as it looks like it might be Pierre Gasly. Yes, Gasly is in to put on the hard compound as well. So everybody on the same exact strategy right here now. As a few laps later now to lap 14, Bottas, who was out front after Hamilton pitted, comes in, puts on the hard tire as well. So we'll see what happens there now, as I'm under attack from Carlos Sainz on lap 14. We've been passed multiple times already through that portion of the track there, as it feels like it's one of the easier parts to let some people go now. As Verstappen, though, on lap 16 now comes in to service his car. He's got the hard compound tire on, and then Perez would stay out quite a bit longer than everybody else. But surprisingly, the overcut works for Valtteri Bottas. He finds himself out in front of Hamilton, Verstappen not too far behind both of them, and he barely gets out in front of Ricciardo now as we come through into turn 1, lap 16. Our teammate of Vettel, who's been on that much softer compound of a tire, much faster compound, has made it work. He gets in front of myself there. No point in fighting our teammate too hard, but I just straight up didn't have enough pace right there to even fight him if I wanted to. So you can see he's already gone. So it's going to be tough to beat Sebastian here today. Now, Perez finally would pit here at the beginning of lap 17. I would actually get out in front of him, and once again, we weren't in a position where we want to be fighting with Perez very much, but now at this point, I'm trying to give it everything I got here to make sure I'm in position to potentially get a strong finish here in the Dutch GP. But here comes Perez to my left-hand side. I just didn't even use the ERS right there. I tried to get the best corner I could with still allowing him to go through. So now to lap 17, Sebastian Vettel comes in, or lap 18 I should say. Sebastian Vettel comes in there. He's going to be putting on the medium compound tire, I would expect now at this point. So this could give us an opportunity to run him down. Now Jeff actually comes over the radio here on the middle portion of lap 18 telling me to once again not panic. There's a potential issue, and it was just thankfully an ERS software glitch, but that really cost us right there as that opened the door for Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari there to go up my right hand side. But he actually comes back over the radio here within 30 seconds into turn 1 on lap 19 and says, well, the issue is actually already fixed and the ERS was working just fine again. So we were back in business now on lap 22, getting ready to make my first and only pit stop on the day here in the Netherlands now, as we're holding off Gasly as well as George Russell in the Alpine now, as I was making sure they weren't going to pass me. Those cars, of course, are close in performance with us, so I was not going to let them go at no matter what, pretty much. So as we come through now into the pit entry here, we get down to pit speed, no problem, and we're going to put on that soft tire. And you see Sebastian Vettel, yes, he is on the medium tire, so we are going to be in an absolute scrap here to try and run him down. Hopefully, we can pull it off, but he already has passed us, and now we're also going to come out behind Guan Yu Zhou, as well as Esteban Ocon, and potentially Callum Ilott there as well. They're on a much harder and slower compound than us, so I wasn't too concerned here, as we're going to be side by side with Ilott here, who was involved in that lap 4 incident earlier with the two Williams cars of Latifi, as well as Giovinazzi there, but we already stay in front of Ilott now, and it was obviously going to be just a matter of time until we run down Guan Yu Zhou as well as Esteban Ocon there in the Alfa Romeo as well as the Alpine. Now, stay tuned. I might have a new mod here coming up for the Alfa Romeo team, but not 100% sure on that yet. But by the end of lap 24, to the left-hand side there of Guan Yu Zhou, and around him we go. So now up into the 13th position, trying to run down Esteban Ocon, who would eventually be probably actually pitting here in the coming lap. So it wasn't like we needed to get that passed on him. But now through the order here, you see Hamilton in P2 behind Bottas, still Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, your top 5. Ricciardo not far back there from Leclerc in P6, and then you go a little bit further back, you got Pierre Gasly, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda. Sainz not having the greatest run here today, now as Tsunoda could be under attack here from Vettel before this GP comes to a close. Now as you got myself right on the gearbox of Esteban Ocon here as we approach this final banked turn here, and we're going to have an opportunity to open up that rear wing with the DRS here and use overtake mode and get past the Alpine drivers side by side down the front straightaway, and we are going to be able to easily complete the pass right there on Esteban Ocon there, down into turn 1. So up into 12th place we go. Ilott now onto the pit lane there to make his final pit stop of the day. You got Stroll, Schumacher, Giovinazzi, and Guan Yu Zhou rounding out the grid, with Norris and Latifi out of the GP at this point now, as we came through to lap 27. 10 laps to go here in Zandvoort. Doing my best to run down Sebastian Vettel. You see the gap, 3.5 seconds actually it was here. So we're getting closer as this run goes on here. Now as Lewis Hamilton is out in second place, out of the GP. There's you see smoke pouring out of the car, and that should probably seal the deal on his opportunity to win his 8th World Drivers title this season. There's no way Hamilton's going to be able to come back at this point now, as it's all, I think, at this point down to Valtteri Bottas trying to go back-to-back here and beat Verstappen now. There you see, though, on lap 30, we gained one spot, obviously, due to Hamilton being out. So we're up in P11, 2.7 seconds behind our teammate of Sebastian Vettel. And we lost a little bit, then we were gaining a little bit. And we were actually gaining the majority of our time in that final sector. I was on it here. So much grip I had in that final sector. And we closed it down to 2.5 seconds here by lap 32. But I realized I'm running out of time quick. But we are running down our teammate, the 4-time world champion of Sebastian Vettel here. But 2.2 seconds now with 3 laps to go, but it's just not enough time from the looks of it here now, as we were just giving it everything and it just wasn't happening. 2 laps ago now, less than 2 seconds, 1.8 between myself and Sebastian, but to the final lap here of the GP, 1.6 seconds, not close enough. It's not going to happen here from the looks of it now, as we run P11 there, as Valtteri Bottas is going to come through to win in Zandvoort over the home driver there of Verstappen, who was right to his gearbox there in the closing moments. Imagine if he had a few more laps there with the DRS. Perez is going to come through to get P3 here, rounding off the podium. But myself and Sebastian Vettel have been P10, P11 here for the last, 10 laps of this GP, after Hamilton retired anyways here through the penultimate corner down towards that final turn. It's not going to be enough for our Aston Martin teammate of Sebastian Vettel, who's been getting the best of us over these last handful of GPs, and he does it again today in Zandvoort, as it's going to be an 11th place finish for us here in the Dutch GP. Now, some work to do going into these coming races if we want to find ourselves back in front of our teammate of Sebastian Vettel, as we have some post-race celebrations here as Sergio Perez wins Driver of the Day in Zandvoort.
What a great race then, and what a magnificent victory here at the Dutch Grand Prix. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
There you see the podium celebrations, as well as the finishing order. A strong day there for AlphaTauri and Pierre Gasly, as well as his teammate of Tsunoda there up in P9 there. Both of those drivers picking up some points there, as Hamilton, Norris, and Latifi DNF. Verstappen's lead is reduced to 60 points by the GP winner of Valtteri Bottas. Ricciardo there, third in the standings, but out of reach at this point. So now it's a 2-driver race. Even if that now, as Verstappen could still hold on very comfortably over Valtteri Bottas. There's 75 points between Red Bull and Mercedes atop of the constructors' standings. So, an interesting episode here in Zandvoort it was. Now, as you see myself making some upgrades as quick as we can here now, going into the Italian GP, which I don't think we're going to have any upgrades coming into Monza, because it's like the direct week after from Zandvoort. So we're just going to go right into that one here, as we have 2 11th place finishes in a row. Like I said, our teammate of Sebastian Vettel getting the best of us lately now is just 3 points separate us, as he's been crawling up closer and closer to my point count here over these last few GPs now, as he's beat us 3 times in a row, as we had the upper hand earlier in the season now. So frustrating, but but we definitely, of course, still have the pace that we need. We just need to put a whole race together from the start, the middle portion of the race, as well as the finish. And hopefully we can do that in Italy. Last season in Italy with the Haas, I think that was, other than the Spanish GP, the hardest GP I'd ever ran in this game. So hopefully it's not like that this time around. It's the easiest track in the game, but it was the hardest race I'd ever done, it felt like. So I don't know what caused that, but hopefully we don't have that issue here next time out. As always, if you guys enjoyed it, you know what to do. I'd like to thank you all for taking your time out of your day to watch this episode and other ones on the channel. I will see you guys in the next one for Monza, as well as we plan to sign a new contract here with Aston Martin. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.